What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again once more. And of course, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you today, right? And before we get to those, I want to issue a fair use disclaimer, right? For the material that is going to be on display in this here video, right? So, yeah, without further ado, let's get to it. Well, since we are playing catch up, there is this hollow deal. It was quite a familiar, or rather, it had familiar undertones, right? Of which these individuals have some sort of selective memory, right? Even now, they even look at Libya and what is happening there, and they might still see that as a success. You understand? So you shouldn't be arguing about perspective, but rather even the result is not relevant, right? But the reason, yeah, right, this is part of that continuation of that silence war, you know. Remember what was it last time? Was it the dictionary or something? Yeah, there could be jailbreak, just like, I don't know, like an iPhone or something. Maybe they update the software. But again, truth is, you can fly these without their permission. Of course, the only time you hear this talking about, when you hear them talking about and AES or even Tanzania, is always in the sad undertones. Let's just say that. This is just a reality that no one on their side seem to be interested in, right? So this Russian guy thing, and I was waiting for it to fester, right? And to see if people are gonna have genuine conversation, right? Well, we're gonna circle back to this. Let's just say that. Well, something tells me that these people have the most to hide, and they feel protected because the one that is in control of this whole ordeal has guaranteed it. But you know, stuff happens. Umerov says that from the trilateral. Well, will the death penalty be temporary or permanent? They're trying to understand. And why isn't Europe saying anything about this, right? Because if you don't know, for those who are not on the continent, Europe has been pushing, lobbying, even paying out money to these NGOs so as to force African countries to remove the death penalty. Why? It's because for the protection of their the traitors within African nations, right? So that move from Burkina Faso, if I'm not mistaken, last time to reinstitute the death penalty, that was a big blow to them, right? Because now a person who is even thinking about backsliding on his nation thinks twice, thinks twice, and you know what, maybe, right? Because on this side there is money, on this side there is death, basically. But if the other side changes from death to, I don't know, jail, yeah. And people need to cover what they're saying more and more. These individuals here, right? Even though I do have questions for them too, how did they find themselves there in the first place, right? Of course, substitute those who were drugged or otherwise, right? But those who willingly went there, right? And even most of them, right, they understood the way things are done, right? They were introduced, right? If you wanna reach a certain place, then you have to do this and go through this person, and it's a whole thing, right? It's not just a guy, it's Hollywood, right? It's witchcraft, okay, right? And where do they get it? People like Aleister Crowley, right? Those guys, they get these, they call them New Age, but it's just basically sorcery, old school sorcery, which involves sexual activity. Interested to know who are these so-called Congress people? What are you doing with a gun in an ice rink? This is a bigger problem that the failure to address the consequences are dire. But they use the AI and stuff, And look at these guys here. They are branding Ozempic as the most fantastic thing to ever happen, right? As if we haven't seen these celebrities. And in the words of Cat Williams, it is too strong. Right? Yeah, there ain't no such thing as colonizing Africa. No, not with these guns. Okay? And all of these people who are gaming out this scenario, maybe they need to, I don't know, readjust some things. The Sunnis now are in. Yeah, then people are sharpening the sword. Guilt and shame. Why are they feeling guilt and shame? Since you want them to change state. Why do they feel like that? Maybe because you are wreaking havoc right now and causing pain right now, not in the past, but now, to the world and to yourself, and then pretending to be like the heroes of a horror movie you wrote, you know. It's crazy work. I don't know why are people even having this conversation. Do actually people know how much dominance China has when it comes to drone production? Literally 90%, if I'm not mistaken, 90%. Hmm? It's a good, good observation. It's happening everywhere, right? Last time we covered this, I gave you it was a compilation of, there were university lecturers, right? They were showing their frustration with their students actually using AI to work on their assignments. Right? Now this is coming from India, right? Petitions are going through, or rather being designed, right? And trust me, this is not an Indian problem alone. It's everywhere. Mm. A threat to US. Right? So even though you hear them complaining, right? The last headline I saw today was Zelensky was saying Putin has weaponized the winter. Those were the headlines, rather the psyop that they were running this whole day. Right? So these two agents here were activated, right? Something is coming. Okay? Wherever you see these two, they always pop up. It's like clockwork, right? When they want to have controversy, that's what they do. And also this guy here has been making the rounds. Well, you remember what we talked about from the Chinese professor, and how revolutionaries actually come about? And he said it is not between the haves and have-nots, but rather it is between the people who have the most and people who have some. And I think that is quite accurate. Quite accurate. Right? And now we have now to decide, right? Is he a have-not, or is he one of those who have? And are we the people who he is talking to? What out? So, well, the conversation that is being avoided is why, in this particular case, why are women so easily bought, right? Which I correctly termed as prostitution, right? If you enter into a relationship because of money and stay in that relationship because of money, and basically you are a prostitute. You're a prostitute. You have objectified your value to a certain amount, right? And it all comes down to who you give your body to, right? So it's a big problem these days, right? The ones that have money exploit the people who don't, and the people who don't are shaming themselves, just like, remember that guy whose sex tape just blew up in the internet, another African person, the guy with the spectacles. It's a disease, and it's gonna have consequence in the worst, right? In the worst way possible, and that is population decline, right? You have to understand this. I think I had a clip here, or I didn't even upload it, right? But I think it's a genuine conclusion, right? That the more sexually liberated the society, the faster it's gonna decline, right? So here again, I'm gonna argue against the professor and what he said, right? He recently, I watched one of his talks or lectures, right? And he was talking about the future, right? And the countries that are gonna be leaders in the future, right? And he gave Germany, Japan, which other country? I can't remember the other one, but well, what can we observe? The similarities here, right? Again, the theme is the same, right? This undertone of they call it sexual liberation, right? Making promiscuity like, I don't know. Basically, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. And of course, it's gonna hit society where it hurts, right? And if Africa does not watch out, it's on its way, right? People are devaluing themselves, or they get into the mistake of even, I don't know, quantifying their value in some way or the other form, right? I was watching this interesting headline. There are these famous conjoined twins, right? By the hip, or the stomach for that matter. And they were having a very interesting conversation. They were saying in school they had to pay per head, right? But after graduating and getting employed, they were paid a salary of a single person. Yeah. They can't leave us, even though they cannot. The problem is they can never ever let us realize our potential. That would be dangerous, because that would mean we would dominate the world, right? Now combine that with their superiority complex, right? Their greed. It's a big problem. Well, I believe you have the most to hide. This is suspicious, people, right? This is suspicious, right? This media attention, all of a sudden, Obama and this person, people are not paying attention. This is all I'm saying, right? I've seen these things play out over and over for years. Right? And even that time I say, the British giveth and the British taketh away. But in this case, that did not, it's not the case. Yeah, remember this, we are having a conversation about it. And this is for the Palestinians, of course, right? Yeah, this happened. 300 names, they say. How many of these names have been called in for questioning or has led to people standing in court and stuff, right? Of course, like I said, the more you do it, the more suspicious it becomes. And this is, we are way, right? Trump is saying the death penalty. TMZ is, I don't know, showing sad faces and stuff. Declare under what circumstance? Under intense, like a law had to pass and stuff. A bill had to pass, if I'm not mistaken, for you to even do this. That's how, like.
You know me too. Come on in. How are you? Good, good, good. Yeah, the documents. Who created this book? Okay, thank you. So, I have it there. I also my computer, but just gives it power flavor. He was very organized, so I was supposed to read this on every plane and everything. Just there's the computer was ready with water. First time I that, so I keep it cool because they used to download pictures like this. Just like pictures. Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil, from all minors, all young girls, very young, very young. Like when you say very young, how young are you? 17. The teenagers, they have braces, most of them. Younger than that, though? Yeah. Yeah. And they used to go out to comedy shops or ice cream parlors for movies, a lot of movies. Because it was very young. Ice cream and comedy and movies. Elaine Maxwell was his former companion, very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries in Europe and find girls for it. And I knew that because I went with my wife. They used to have a computer so powerful. They used to have a water radiator to cool the computer because they used to download pictures like that so fast. Girls, she got nice breasts, she got this and that. You saw that stuff? Yeah. On the computer? Yeah. Pictures of girls? With I did stuff like that? Yeah, I testify that. The Secret Service was there.
The saga continues, they say. True every time. This freaking hypocrite already covering up. But the reality is this. The nerve. But it is a crisis, a bigger crisis than people think, this situation here, right? Why? Because Judaism, this operation that these people launched, even when I'm talking about how the melanated Israelite kingdom was taken over, they were the ones who perpetrated it, right? They're the ones that perpetrated it. They're everywhere, okay? They're everywhere, and they've been doing this. But hey, their jig is up as long as people question their story, their narrative. Just being real, this is that time, right? But again, where are the Europeans? Peep, silent, weak. Now they're talking about frogs and using the pretext for sanctions. That's what I hear. Now this came out, right? He just gave himself projects, Even now, these two were activated also. If you don't believe me, last year, literally this time last year, these two individuals were making rounds on TV. If not last year, then the year before that. But literally these two have been doing this. But I'm sure it's last year around this time. Mark Wahlberg had a big ass selfie with a cross on his forehead and stuff. It's some crazy work these people are up to, Jesus look like that guy, bruh. Look at this. Why did this information come out? Why is it relevant now? I don't know. Again, creating the environment to strike, so as you can give your story later on. You can say, we did it because they did this. I'm hoping it's true. Maybe we can get some honesty for once, Just drop them like the Spotify playlist thingy. Oh, kama kawaida ndio hapo wenyewe. Yeah, so kind, doesn't end. So now we are all caught up, right? What do you see? What do you see? There might be a contradiction from what you hear or what you are led to believe, but discernment, key. So anyway, let me not go on for long. I'll put a pin on it right there, and we're gonna see each other when we see each other. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.